They say when Mazi Eze set his eyes on you, it's already too late. You won't remember saying yes. You won't remember following him. But you wake up behind his gates, wearing the beads of his bride. 50 young wives already live under his roof, all ones as free as you. Some laughed at him, some ran from him, but none escaped. Because in Umuoke, when Mazi Eze wants you, he takes you. In the heart of Umuoke village, the air always carried whispers. Whispers about Mazi Eze, the man no one dared to cross. He was not just old, he was ancient in spirit. His eyes holding a darkness deeper than midnight. Some call him Dibia, others called him Okemo, the great spirit, but everyone feared him. Mazi Eze's power was not in his walking stick or his booming voice, it was in his eyes. Those eyes could strip you bare, crawl inside your mind, and take whatever they wanted. And what he wanted was beauty. He had married over 50 wives, all young, fresh-faced, and once full of life, before they became shadows in his sprawling compound. It didn't matter if you were a farmer's daughter, a trader's niece, or even a government worker sent from the city. If Mazi Eze's eyes found you, you were his. Even NYSC girls. That year, 2 new corps members arrived in Umuoke, Becky and Bella, city girls with city dreams, assigned to teach in the local secondary school. They rented a small apartment near the edge of the village, where the forest whispered at night, and the air felt heavier than it should. From the start, they hated the place, the strange silences, the way villagers stopped talking when they passed, and the old stories about never looking Mazi Eze in the eyes. But they were too modern to believe in village superstitions. One hot afternoon, they were walking back from the market, plastic bags heavy in their hands, laughter spilling into the dusty road when he approached. Mazi Eze stood in the middle of the path like he had been waiting. His tall thin frame, wrapped in a red wrapper, cowrie beads jangling on his wrist, his eyes, sharp, glinting, moved over them slowly. "I like both of you," he said in a voice like slow thunder. "You will be my wives." Becky burst out laughing. "Are you normal, old man? Do we look like old women from this village? We are old enough to be your daughters." Bella shook her head. "Old man, I beg, go and find your mate and leave us alone." They tried to walk past him, still laughing, but then he looked at them, not just at them, into them. It felt like a sudden cold wind had blown straight through their bones. Their laughter died. The air thickened. Their arms went limp. Their market bags falling to the ground. "Follow me," Mazi Eze said softly, and without a word, without even knowing why, Becky and Bella turned and walked behind him. Their steps slow, their eyes empty. That night, the village gossiped quietly. 2 more young brides had entered Mazi Eze's compound. The old man's charms were working perfectly. Umuoke was no longer just a quiet Igbo village, it was a cage. The women no longer laughed freely at the stream. The men no longer sang on their way back from the farm. The air itself felt heavy, like the whole community was breathing underwater. At the center of it all was Mazi Eze. Each month, another beautiful girl vanished into his compound. Sometimes, she was a farmer's daughter. Sometimes, a school teacher. Sometimes, a stranger just passing through. One moment, she will be full of life. The next, she was walking into his home with glassy eyes, never to return the same. The villagers whispered in fear. "Do you know they brought 3 powerful Dibias from across the river to fight him? And they never returned." One was found floating in the stream, his body covered with strange marks. The other 2, gone. Even the king, once a proud man, who could summon warriors with a clap of his hands, now avoided Mazi Eze's road. It was said the old native doctor could teleport to any country he desired, crossing oceans in the blink of an eye. How do you fight a man who could vanish into thin air? But Mazi Eze's power wasn't only in magic, he had money. More than anyone in Umuoke could ever dream of. It was whispered that he stole people's destinies, draining their success and adding it to his own life force. A young man would return from the city with a bright future, and after one visit to the village, he would be nothing but a beggar in torn clothes. Meanwhile, the old man's compound grew larger, his barns fuller, his skin smoother, as if age itself feared him. "I will never die," Mazeze boasted to his wives one evening, his voice echoing through the courtyard. "I will live forever. My name will never fade." Some of his children roamed the village like little princes and princesses, untouchable and arrogant. Some evil men, killers, thieves and schemers would come secretly to him at night, seeking his help, and they always left with what they wanted, in exchange for something far worse. The community grew poorer, hungrier, weaker. Livestock died mysteriously. Crops failed for no reason. The once lively markets now closed early because people were too afraid to stay out after sunset. In the king's palace, the monarch sat on his throne, staring at the flickering oil lamp. Sleep had abandoned him. His eyes were hollow from worry. "What else can we do?" he murmured to his chiefs. "This man has eaten the soul of our land. If we do nothing, Umuoke will die." But somewhere, deep in the shadows, an old prophecy was stirring. A whisper that Mazeze's reign would end, not by the hands of a king, not by the staff of a dibia, but by someone he least expected. By now, Mazeze's power felt untouchable, like a shadow that covered every corner of Umuoke. He moved with the arrogance of a man who believed even death could not touch him. Girls still disappeared. Wives still walked the village with empty eyes. And those who dared to laugh at his proposals always paid the same price. They became his, whether they wanted it or not. Until the day he met Amara. It was late afternoon, the sun dripping gold over the dusty road. Amara, a radiant young woman of 19, was on her way back from the farm. Her mother had sent her to give her father food, and she walked with the quiet dignity of someone raised with respect. She had never lived in Umuoke. Her childhood was spent 2 villages away with her mother's sister, a deeply prayerful woman who covered Amara's life with fasting and midnight prayers. Unbeknownst to Amara, her name was a constant on her aunt's altar. When she saw the tall red-wrapped figure of Mazeze approaching, Amara greeted politely, her voice low. "Good evening, sir," she made to pass, but his voice stopped her. "You are such a beautiful girl. What is your name?" "My name is Amaras, sir. How can I help you?" He smiled faintly, his eyes glinting. "I want to marry you." She blinked in confusion. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't understand what you mean." "What is there not to understand, young girl? I said I will marry you. You're too beautiful to belong to anyone else." Amara's polite smile faltered. Something about him unsettled her. "I'm sorry, sir, but I have to leave," she said, stepping away. And then it happened. The stare, the same stare that had enslaved countless women. His eyes locked with hers. His voice a low command. "Follow me." But instead of her body freezing, instead of her mind going blank, nothing happened. His charm slid off her like water on polished stone. Mazeze's lips parted slightly. For the first time in years, his power had met resistance. Amara turned and ran, her sandals slapping against the dusty ground until she vanished into the trees. He stood there for a moment, the air heavy around him. Then his face hardened. If the road could not bring her to him, the night would. That evening, he locked himself inside his shrine. The air inside was thick with the smell of blood and burning herbs. He drew strange symbols on the floor, chanting words older than the village itself. Candles flickered, cowrie shells rattled on their own. The spirit of Amara was called by force. Somewhere in her small room, Amara's eyes snapped open in the middle of the night. Her bare feet touched the floor, her body moving with her mind. In the silence, she walked through the sleeping village, straight into Mazeze's compound. When he saw her in the moonlight, his laughter was low and victorious. "Now, you are mine." He took her into his bedroom that night. By morning, panic tore through her family's home. Her parents searched the farm, the riverbank, the markets, nothing. Her mother, wild with fear, wandered the streets asking everyone. And then she saw one of Maze's wives drawing water from the well. "Have you seen my daughter Amara?" she asked desperately. The woman smiled faintly. "She's inside. She's my new co-wife." For a heartbeat, everything went still. Then Amara's mother's voice broke the air like thunder. "That evil man has my daughter? No. I will not allow this to happen." She didn't waste another breath. Tying her wrapper tight, she set out for the neighboring village to find the man she had only heard about in whispers. A man they said could call down fire without matches. A man who feared no shrine. A man of God whose prayers had broken charms no altar could touch. And as she walked, the wind seemed to carry the warning to Maze's ears. This time, the battle might be different. Word of Amara's abduction spread quickly, carried in fearful whispers from one trembling mouth to another. No one dared confront Mazeze. No one, except Amara's mother. By sundown, she had crossed the river path to the neighboring village, her bare feet swollen, her heart pounding like war drums. When she reached the small thatched church at the hilltop, she fell to her knees before the man she had come to find, Pastor Chike. They said his prayers could make a python vomit its prey. They said no evil power could stand in his presence. "Man of God," she cried, "my daughter is in the hands of a demon in human form. If you don't help me, she will never come back." Pastor Chike's eyes were calm, but a fire burned behind them. "Gather your faith, woman. The God we serve is not afraid of shrines or any demon." That very night, he followed her back to Umuoke. They did not announce themselves. They went straight to Maze's compound. Inside, the air was heavy, the moon casting long crooked shadows. The wives, silent and hollow-eyed, watched from their doorways. Somewhere deep in the house, Amara sat on a mat, her gaze empty. Mazeze emerged from his shrine, the smell of incense clinging to his clothes. His voice dripped with mockery. "So, the king sent a preacher to fight me? Foolishness." Pastor Chike stepped forward. "I'm not here by the king's order. I am here because heaven has declared your time is over." Mazeze laughed, but his laugh was cut short. The pastor began to pray, his voice rising like a storm, his words sharp as lightning. The ground trembled, the night wind roared. From the shrine, the carved idols began to crack, their cowrie eyes falling to the floor. Mazeze shouted incantations, throwing powders into the air, but the powders turned to ash before they reached the ground. Something unseen gripped him, bending his back, twisting his face. His wife began to scream as a dark mist poured out of his body, swirling violently before shooting into the sky. Amara gasped, her eyes glaring, as if she had woken from a long, terrible dream. Her mother rushed forward, holding her tight, tears streaming down her face. Mazeze stumbled to his knees. His voice was hoarse, desperate. "No, I cannot die. I cannot." Thunder split the night, and before the eyes of the village, Mazeze collapsed face first into the dust, lifeless. By morning, the news had spread to every corner of Umuoke. The shrines were burnt. The wives, free at last, were taken back to their families, and the village breathed again. As for Amara, she never forgot the man who tried to steal her life, nor the night heaven came down to fight for her. Umuoke was free, and the reign of the evil old man was over. Evil never lasts forever. No matter how powerful someone seems, especially when they abuse others, their reign will eventually end. Faith and courage can break chains. The villagers were afraid, but one woman's courage to seek help and the unwavering faith of Pastor Chike broke Mazeze's power. Spiritual covering matters. Amara's initial resistance to Mazeze's charm came from the prayers and protection she had unknowingly been given by her aunt. It shows the value of being spiritually rooted. Community silence can allow evil to grow. The villagers' fear allowed Mazeze's terror to continue for years. Silence in the face of evil gives the evil more room to operate. Pride and arrogance bring downfall. Mazeze believed he was untouchable and immortal, but that arrogance blinded him to the fact that his end was near. Thank you for daring to walk this haunted path of Umuoke with me. Like, share, comment your thoughts, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and tell me in the comments, if a man like Mazeze looked into your eyes, would you survive or would you follow? Bye!